The culture is absolutely...
The gut ain't run the table! Calling both games.
We all wish for the Buccaneers to die, but they will not. As everyone else implodes around them, Tampa Bay merely recollects those they are about to lose. Worried about losing the likes of Chris Godwin, Ryan Jensen, and Leonard Fournette? Don't be. They're all back into the fold. In a further attempt to torment Atlanta, here's Russell Gage signed as a free agent. As we all wait to see if Gronk's body will allow him to play for another year, Ali Marpet has chosen to retire off into the sunset with a ring and his body intact. The true success is in life. So with all of these players returning... Oh god, don't tell me he's back. I thought we killed him! Are you fucking kidding me? We buried this asshole in 50 inches of solid concrete! We severed the head and the penis at the same time! We shrouded his body in enough garlic to kill every vampire from ear to tip but fucking toe! How the hell is he still alive? Excuse me. Well then, if it's a soul you want to revive, then you must sacrifice one as compensation. We'll take Bruce Arians as fair penance. No, we're not gonna kill him. We're not that awful. We're just gonna send him to a place in the front office. Todd Bowles is your new head coach. Thank you for shopping at the Devil's Bargain Outlet. Bruce Arians may be gone, but his spirit lives on. At least until he somehow gets the itch to coach again and takes a role on an NFL staff in some capacity. We all celebrated the end of Brady when he chose to retire, but like all good things, he engaged in tomfoolery. We want Adam Schefter's head for obvious reasons. However, Brady took a leave of absence during camp to be with family and stretch out his emotions in the process. Perhaps he took the break to learn mutant healing. Why do I say this? His offensive linemen are dropping like flies. Ali Marpet retired after the Super Bowl. Ryan Jensen was a coup to keep around, so the injury gods launched a coup against his health during camp. Aaron Stinney had a chance at a starting spot, but that was undone by, yes, a season-ending injury. Tristan Wirfs has had a nagging injury too. Not to be an alarmist, but Brady was looking somewhat mortal by the end of this past season. Without Gronk to aid him as a safety valve, the weakness for opponents to feast on may be in sight. They did add Julio Jones to hopefully not self-destruct like Antonio Brown did. And he hasn't gotten injured yet. I'm sorry, I probably jinxed it. Even with the teams that are choosing to blow it up and start from scratch, there is still plenty of intrigue with the NFC. So many teams desperate to win a championship or go far into January. And even more trying to make a name for themselves. The NFC East hasn't had a repeat champion in years. So I'm going to maintain that narrative and pick Philly to win it. The NFC North is still Green Bay's to lose, but they're slowly losing grip on their stronghold. The NFC South has a few suitors, but the Bucs are still too loaded to really fail unless they get injured to hell and back. The NFC West? Huge question mark, but I think the Rams are still the team to beat. But what about the wild cards? It's tough to choose, there are so many good options here. In this case, I'm choosing the Niners, Saints, and Vikings. Yes, the Vikings. I think people are sleeping on them. Then again, we've said this about them before, only for them to fall apart. Sorry about that, Minnesota. Finally, a game that isn't absolutely fucking bonkers to recap. Tampa Bay may not have been perfect, but their defense clamped down on Cowboys and forced them to walk the plank for 60 minutes. The media tells us that Kellen Moore is this offensive genius, yet Dallas was getting pissed on consistently. It would have been even worse if Micah Parsons wasn't doing his best Kratos impression and defying time and space itself. Words can't do it justice. It was a teabagging of the highest order. Tom Brady says he's retiring at the end of the year, but he will forever own property rent-free in Jerry Boy's mind. The Cowboys' offense was supposed to be good, maybe against the garbage of their division. Even then, I doubt that now. Dak Prescott went under the knife to repair his throwing thumb. He might be out for a few months. You remember how well it went without him in 2020? It'll be glorious for the rest of the league. Uh-oh, folks, Jerry Jones looks pissed off. Maybe one day he'll realize every problem the Cowboys have is his own damn fault. But that would require something called humility. If you were to tell me that Bucs Saints was going to be the most infuriating offensively challenged game of the week, I would have laughed hysterically at you. Then again, the Saints are without Alvin Kamara, and Tampa Bay can't convert a 4th and short to save their lives. Here is where we all get concerned about Tom Brady. It looks like his soul's being sucked out of him in press conferences. And with the offense all out of sorts, plus his line destroyed, Brady breaks down like he's at home with Giselle. His team's getting an earful. The poor Microsoft Surface tablets on the sideline are being killed off one by one. We'd feel worse for this genocide, but no one uses those things without being paid to. It took them over 3 quarters to get any semblance of offense going. Fortunately, Brady was so worried about going back to his family that he all but forced his team to victory at gunpoint. Famous Jameis tried to counter with his own punches, but reopening the turnover bakery while fighting off 4 fractures in his back. That's impressive to me. I respect his dedication to feed the poor defenders on the field of play. Doesn't do much for the Saints, but they were banged up. I'll give them a pass here. I wonder if Tampa Bay is going to find their next batch of receivers on a reality TV show. Mike Evans is suspended, Julio Jones and Chris Godwin are out, and Gronk's gone on a 6-year bender. Fortunately for the Bucs, their defense is still fucking incredible. They've clamped down on their opponents, and Green Bay is no exception. They also lack a thing called reliable wideouts, and that Stone Cold D will make sure that any yardage gained will be done in pay. The Packers rushed out to an early lead, but against Tampa in Tampa? No luck in trying to escape easily. They're going to have to work for their win. Apparently nobody can hold on to the football these days, fumbling the rock like it's fresh out of a searing broiler. The turnovers were furious, but after that, a duel of defense. Headed into the final drive of the game, Tom Brady knows a thing or two about these heroics. His body may be withering and he may have no receivers, but by God, he will get them to the promised land come hell or high water.
Play clock at 1. Get it off. Brady throwing end zone. It is caught for the touchdown.
See what I mean? Now, as long as they get the 2 points, a second delay of game on a 2-point conversion in 2 weeks? What the hell?
Pressure. Steps away. Throwing tip. Incomplete. The Packers are going to win it.
Green Bay hangs on by the skin of their teeth. A brilliant defensive contest leads Tom Brady to a bitter defeat. The hell do you think you are, Tom? Kyler Murray? That delay of game penalty probably fucked you over in the end. Now beat it back to your Charmin soft division. This past week, a devastating storm hurled itself at Tampa Bay. It did not care for possessions, property, or life itself. It showed no mercy to anything in its path, as its destruction was widespread and relentless. I'm, of course, talking about the Kansas City Chiefs. There was also a pesky hurricane that went through the Tampa area as well, but Raymond James Stadium hadn't collapsed in on itself, so the game won't be moved elsewhere. It wouldn't have mattered. Kansas City is surging through their opponent regardless. Not just with that embarrassing loss last week, but think back to a certain Super Bowl in 2021. Remember how they got punched in the mouth all game? It's payback time, motherfuckers. The Chiefs took them out back and beat them with a crowbar. They bludgeoned them to a bloody pulp. Tampa Bay didn't even try to run most of the game. Tom Brady slung the rock with ease, it doesn't matter. That Bucs defense that destroyed their opposition? Not happening today. Kansas City needs to maintain superiority. In this scenario, I'd say that task was completed. This game was quite the snoozer, wasn't it? Plodding, methodical football that's easy enough for old man Brady to manage with his advanced age and impending divorce. As we're all thinking we're watching a rerun of C-SPAN in the 1980s, Tampa Bay is lecturing Atlanta how things were back in the 19-decades. They say then you could buy a football team for a nickel and be able to shoot the players out back if they didn't perform. Maybe the Falcons should do the same as they've fallen behind 21-0 deep into the game. All seems bleak, but then another step towards recovery. Atlanta is managing to put up points on the board. No, your eyes aren't deceiving you. The rushing attack is making noise against Tampa's defense. Without Cordarrelle Patterson. They may be burning too much time off the clock, but the Falcons have a shot to win the game. If they stop the Bucs on this third down, reality can... Oh my God. Did you see what Grady Jarrett just did? He touched Tom Brady! How dared he tackle someone in the current year? He violently threw him to the ground without massaging his cock or tucking him into bed! This is elder abuse! Think of the children that had to watch such a heinous display! all of the flags on the field, roughing the passer! Roughing the passer!
Emotional damage.
It's okay, Tom. Your trauma will immediately be treated by our finest doctors. This win is nowhere near enough to heal your pain, but it's a start. Atlanta's fine will be trading Deion Jones to Cleveland for scraps. This is the NFL in 2022. What a fucking joke. There's no need to go over this contest. Pittsburgh is a dead man walking and they won? What the hell do you mean they won? Their entire secondary was out due to injury. Kenny Pickett had to leave the game in the second half due to a concussion. How did this happen? Tampa Bay may have an imposing exterior, but once you get to their soft underbelly, they're as fragile as porcelain. A backup offensive line serving a game plan running around in a circle featuring a quarterback so frail he'll need a walker by the end of the match. At this point, Tom would have better protection if he was surrounded by Microsoft Surface tablets. The Steelers may be a shit team that's overconfident in how they do things, but they took what the Bucs were willing to give. Both sides of the ball made plays. Devin Bush did something besides shit himself at linebacker. Mitch Trubisky made critical throws to break Matt Nagy once more. It was ugly as hell, but they somehow win against a team that should have destroyed them. Thank God I don't have to do a shitty Days of Our Steelers segment. That stale meme gets to stay dead. Fuck you, boys. You don't get your fan service today. Eat my dick. I'll embrace my false hope. I will say that it did get pretty ugly for Carolina's opponent. Against an allegedly great team, they witnessed Tampa Bay completely self-destruct in nearly every facet of play. Somewhere Matt Rule is crying into a bottle of Chimay Blue. The Panthers look significantly more competent without his influence. Although that could be because the Bucs are looking like ass that stayed out in the sun for way too long. Pure ineptitude that the organization hasn't seen since the Hugh Culverhouse days. I've seen more competence out of the people that wrote the NFL pylon. In fact, they can use this as script material, since it's as useless and overpriced as the Bucs are. Completely unable to solve the Panthers' defense, going 2 for 12 on third down. Being gashed on the ground by Madden-generated players like Deontay Foreman and Chuba Hubbard. The Panthers allowed P.J. Walker to throw past the line of scrimmage today. And he did well. The Bucs' defense is out of sorts. Tom Brady is using his O-line of backups as a punching bag. And Tampa Bay's implosions become premium comedy to watch. Congratulations, you're automatically Locale of the Week. You were warned, Tom. Father Time remains undefeated. You one-upped Adam Schefter, but was it worth it? No matter how hard you try to avoid it, everyone must pay the piper. The man's come knocking on Tampa's door asking for compensation for the ring he helped them get. Probably comes in the form of most of their secondary being out with injury. Both teams took turns making Al Michaels swig a flask of whiskey in the booth until Baltimore managed to adjust their game plan in the second half. Who knew that running the ball more than one play a drive will lead to opening up the offense? It is the thing they're best at. Tampa halted it as well as a stick stopping a flood. The most surprising thing about this game is that Baltimore didn't manage to squander a double-digit lead for once. Tampa's in deep shit. Brady is falling off to the sounds of a one-dimensional offense and shitty coaching. It's Tom's first 3-game losing streak since 2002 and the first time one of his teams is 2 games under 500. The end might be here, Bucks. Pay up. Do you remember when this was an elite matchup? Those were the days. We all miss them, as we are now forced to witness the hollowed out remains of what once were those franchises. You can't even boil it down to one specific trait. Everything has gone to shit for both teams. It's not bad luck that they're both sub 500 and battered by the waves of chaos. This match is less about good defense than it is really shitty offense. One-dimensional game plans with terrible offensive lines and suddenly suspect skill players. The quarterback's in a state of decline, but getting no help from anyone around them. The only noise made throughout are drops by the wide receivers. In every situation. Somehow, despite all of this, Tom Brady got over 100,000 passing yards in his career, but it's not enough. You'd think with this turnover on downs, the game is the Rams to win, right? I've got news for you. At this point, you can argue that LA was paid to take a dive. With this final drive, the narrative's going to be about Brady, but look at this defense! They're not even trying! Soft zone against a guy who shreds zone D in his sleep. What fucking geniuses! Just surrender the game to Tampa already.
Everything, just throw it away if it's not there right away.
Here's the snap to Brady. Fakes to Fournette. He throws. It's caught. It's in for the touchdown!
This is what they call impressive? It was honestly predictable the moment the Rams chose to coast along. The whole team's in deep shit and complacent, but if you try to tell them they're screwed, they'll ignore it. Who cares? We have a ring! Yeah, one you bought with a bunch of rental parts. Good for you. Sean McVay's already got one foot out the door to Amazon in a year or two. I don't blame him. He's going to get paid. Willkommen auf zu Deutschland. In München findet ein tolles Spiel zwischen den Seattle Seahawks und den Tampa Bay Buccaneers statt. Ja, ich habe Google Translate genutzt. Mein Deutsch ist scheiß. Okay, that's enough cringe for the poor Germans that are watching this vid. God bless them, for they came out in droves and proved to the NFL that they should have had games here long before this. What they saw was what we expected this game to be back in August. Seattle's offense stuck in quicksand thanks to a relentless Bucs defense. Tom Brady magically getting receivers that can catch and not having to throw a bajillion times in a game. With being able to escape through the raindrops, Tampa Bay gets back to 500 and resecures the division from hell. Brady is a master of conquest. Napoleon sits in exile envious of his annexation of the world. Germany even got their comedy in being forced to experience Byron Leftwich devise trick plays. All in all, a successful day for Deutschland. Come back here more often, NFL. Cleveland really thought Deshaun Watson was going to solve every single problem their team had before the year. You want to know something? He's not. Jacoby Brissett's been performing rather admirably in backup duty. But what about this defense? No man should have to suffer through a Joe Woods unit. It should be taken out to the woods and shot for its own good. This game would be wise to follow suit. After a quick barrage of points, all of Cleveland goes to a standstill. Time passes, yet nothing happens. Merely whatever is supposed to pass for offense in this day and age. Whether that be due to severe injuries or sheer ineptitude, I'll leave to the beholder. Tom Brady somehow managed to will this rotting corpse to the end zone. There is no more influence from a higher power after this. All offense ceases to exist. If it's not punted away, it's booted on a gimme pass. By Amari Cooper? Somewhere Jerry Jones is rubbing out a fast one. Tampa Bay can't capitalize thanks to their shitty everything on offense, which gives Cleveland some semblance of hope. They push, but time is running short. The Bucs defense is stout in the red zone. 4th and 10 is impending. There's only one thing that will save the Browns from destruction.
4th and 10. Brissett throws. Back of the end zone. What a catch!
One of the rare instances of David Njoku utilizing his immense talent. And it came at the right time. Unlike Todd Bowles and his clock management, you have multiple timeouts, yet don't use them as Tom Brady throws a nice ball to get to midfield? You pissed away 20 seconds with that bullshit because overtime's just too nice. Too bad it wasn't. The Bucs are also cursed with Byron Leftwich calling for a loss to the goddamn Browns. Thanks to more self-inflicted wounds, Tampa Bay now has a sub-500 record to lead the New Age tank division. Cleveland gets false hope aplenty, especially since Deshaun's coming back next week. They may be long shots to make the playoffs, but a match against Houston always guarantees a win. It's gonna be a win, right? How can something be so bland to watch yet so utterly predictable an outcome? It's Tom Brady, of course anything's possible. New Orleans only had control of the game for a significant portion of time. And by significant, I mean almost 55 minutes. Tampa Bay looked fucking terrible. No offensive line. No running game. Shitty play calling. Brady forced to either eat it in the pocket or airmail deep balls to Julio Jones. This dude has destroyed so many Microsoft Surface tablets while screaming at his team over the years you can declare it a genocide. The Saints are pretty awful, but this is the New Age tank division. They'll clamp down and move in their limited state to a 16-3 lead. Should be over, right? We're ignoring that the scriptwriters got lazy and chose to remake a classic for modern audiences. Introducing the Tom Brady template. A foolproof checklist for nearly every Brady comeback in his illustrious career. Unforced fuck-ups by the other team? How about a visibly injured Mark Ingram stepping out of bounds before the goddamn first down marker? Then throwing a random quick screen on a 3rd and 1.
And then punting from midfield. That's a definite check. No Brady comebacks without a momentum-changing penalty. How about a long defensive pass interference on a ball Brady missed the target on? It is a fair call the cornerback couldn't adapt to the changing trajectory. That's enough for an easy TD, but we need a 3-and-out to really get the script predictable. Taysom Hill unable to catch a dime from the red rifle on third down will do it. And then the final part. Defensive coordinators going mental by calling soft zone prevent against one of the best passers against zone defenses in league history. Jesus Christ, Saints, can you try not to take a fucking dive? I know you keep failing when it matters and Dennis Allen is a hack, but this is pathetic. Oh, call a penalty on the first TD Brady threw for offensive holding. Can't be that deliberate with the writing. Who cares? The Bucs are winning because New Orleans is awful. Just play the clip.
Underneath, and touchdown, Rachaad White!
Forgive me if I'm completely unimpressed. I don't know how you do that with a 13-point comeback in 5 minutes, but it somehow happened. This win allows Brady to surpass Peyton for most fourth-quarter comebacks in NFL history. But I just feel like I've been insulted by watching this. I still need a loco of the week. Congratulations, New Orleans. You've just won the only trophy you've earned without scandal. Man, I'm turning into a bitter old man over this shit. Might be time to retire and get a real job. Sometimes the greatest memes are the ones that come out of nowhere. San Fran may have lost their lads. They may have lost their model moonlighting as a quarterback. But those tragedies have forced us to gaze upon the brass balls of their new man under center. He lets them hang so far down there he has to drag them on the ground. The modern answer to Nick Foles is the man who will lead the Niners to the promised land. Big Cock Brock. A legend in his own right by skillfully guiding San Francisco to a dominating win over a supposed contender in Tampa Bay. Mr. Irrelevant? Maybe for Todd Bowles. This game was over by the third quarter. The Bucs should have to apologize to all of America for forcing us to witness such teabagging. Brock Purdy slapped them around with his balls of steel all game long. It does come at a cost, though. Deebo Samuel. Oh, he'll be fine. It's only a day-to-day injury. And then days end up becoming weeks, and weeks turn into the season. This is San Francisco. I'm not leaving anything to chance. The playoff push is reaching its final stages. Only one spot has been clinched by Philadelphia, but 4 weeks remain. Philadelphia obviously has number 1 seed, but the division is still up for grabs. Minnesota, after an ugly loss this past week, is still second seed, and the NFC North is technically secured as well. The torrid pace of the Niners has them starting to run away with the West in third place right now. But the NFC South is best not discussed. Tampa Bay only has it because the division is straight up awful. Meanwhile, Dallas is sitting pretty with 10 wins and first wild card. After that, it's a mosh pit. Washington and the Giants are currently tied at 7-5-1, and Seattle struggling to maintain form with an easy schedule. Detroit's creeping up though. And don't forget the rest of the garbage in the NFC South still has a chance. The picture will become clearer as time goes on. And as we all know, there's only one rule to follow.
Don't get eliminated!
Tampa Bay is a terribly coached team. Bruce Arians' years were an aberration. He must now suffer through Todd Bowles suffocating the team like his personality. Dead. If you were to simply look at the first half, you'd ask, what gives? The Bucs are out to a sizable lead. Tom Brady looks as if he hasn't aged one bit. Cincinnati can do nothing against their resurgent defense. It's like they've returned to their dominant form of last season. I'd hold that thought if I were you. Problem is the thought outright crumbles into a million fragmented pieces. This game showed us how pathetic Tampa Bay has become. They didn't just lose this game. They outright self-destructed on offense. Who the fuck do you think you are? Tennessee? It's almost as if the Bucs were either paid to take a dive or simply forgot how to play football. Considering how shit they've been for most of the year, I'm going with the latter. Everything that could go wrong did. And it allows the Bengals to continue their torrid streak and smack around a decrepit husk of a franchise. You know the worst part of this? Tampa's probably getting a home playoff game regardless. They're fucking terrible, yet their division is somehow worse. Be thankful you were gifted a win against Atlanta and New Orleans choked. It's the only way you've earned anything. We've had quite a lot of teams reach playoff land this week, didn't we? It doesn't mean we're anywhere close to settling how things will shake out. Philly still holds number 1 seed. and can clinch their division with either a win or Dallas loss. Minnesota and San Francisco both clinched their division since there's no elite team rivaling them in division. It's only positioning they're playing for. They won't have to worry about Tampa Bay. They are ass. And their division is even more ass. Please delete it from our existence. The winner of this shit pile will probably be hosting a playoff game against the Cowboys. And we will wish for death. The other two wildcard spots are currently held by the Giants and Commies despite the G-Men winning last week. Seattle is falling hard while Detroit is rumbling back into the picture after being left for dead. Green Bay hangs on by a thread. And so does the rest of the NFC South. This is gonna be quite fucky, isn't it? Everyone left, you know what to say.
Don't get eliminated!
Tampa Bay is either the luckiest team alive or being nudged into the playoffs for ratings. I have no other explanation as to how they can look so unbelievably terrible yet be in line for a division title. They have shitty coaching, shitty quarterbacking, shitty running backs, a shitty O-line, shitty scheming, and keep shitting up drives with shit penalties. Tom Brady has declined hard. It's like he's either got Adam Schefter on his mind or is burned out on this team. When you struggle against the Arizona fucking Cardinals, trotting out Trace McSorley to flail around, you're really having trouble with this? Oh wait, I've seen this movie 100 times before. It's where Tom Brady Houdinis his way to a win because his opponent is complete sheepdog. Wow, I'm in fucking awe of the Bucs barely beating a Cliff Kingsbury coached team. I'm gonna suck your dicks like the media does when you play like ass for 55 minutes again. The Bucs were so bad they had to use overtime to beat their opponent. Then everyone pretends that Brady had a great game when it was one of the worst of his career. I've seen reality TV shows that felt less scripted than this. Way to be fucking useless, Arizona. Guess that's what happens when you're owned by a fail son of a fail son. With a few big losses this week, the NFL playoff picture has become a mosh pit, as has been written for time eternal. The NFC East is still the same scenario as before. Winning clinch for Philly, and that includes the number 1 seed. If Dallas loses once as well, they are doomed to play as a road team in the wild card. The NFC South is still the division that should not exist, and Tampa Bay can seal it away with a win against the Panthers. If Carolina wins, though, we continue down the chaos timeline. New Orleans is still technically alive, but will need a lot to happen to win the South. With wildcards, Dallas most likely will be headed to the NFC South winner. The Giants still sit comfy a game ahead of Washington for the second spot, with the Commies taking last seat for now. With Detroit and Seattle both losing last week, Green Bay can bullshit their way to a postseason berth with a few more things happening in their favor. But they need the Lions and Seahawks to keep losing. The Saints can also clinch a wildcard, but it's an extreme long shot. But it's a shot nonetheless. And if you have that, you can still chant the rule.
Don't get eliminated!
This is the first time where I have felt legitimate disappointment in the Panthers franchise. Hell, it borders on anger. Here, despite all of the chaos and ineptitude that's been on display for them all season, they had a chance to control their own destiny in the playoff race. Tampa Bay was more than ripe for the kill. They've been sleepwalking their way off the cliff of fraudulence all goddamn season. Yet be it by incredible luck or somehow bullshitting their way to pass form at the 11th hour, the Bucs escape what should be their inevitable demise. Guess what, Buttercup? It happened again. For roughly the 5th or 6th time this year, Tampa Bay followed the same script. Look incredibly lethargic and uninspired for a strong majority of the game, and then suddenly find about 15 MacGuffins and Deus Ex Machina your way to a win. Oh, Carolina had an 11-point lead in the 4th quarter. We all know Brady's gonna break his opponent like a Surface tablet. Oh, of course Mike Evans returns to peak form after looking awful all season. Of course he has 3 TDs where he makes the Panthers look awful. Of course he does. Did we really expect anything less? Carolina had the knife pressed against their fucking throat and somehow end up stabbing themselves. The scriptwriters don't want the Panthers doing anything. We can't have any hilarious chaos in this timeline. Sam Darnold just fumbles it because the Bucs defense suddenly becomes godly. Every fucking time. The Bucs are the luckiest sons of bitches on the face of the earth. In any competitive division, they'd be 5-12 as they should be. However, the NFC South is a joke and they win it as predicted. I don't think even Bucs fans want them here. The NFC East is also somehow still up for grabs. with Philadelphia being winning clinch for the third week in a row. If Dallas wins and Philly loses next week, we all die. Every other division is locked up, but number 1 seed is still up for grabs. Philly should have it, but if they lose and San Fran wins, the Niners get it. If both of them lose and Dallas wins, we all die more. Then the 7th seed. Green Bay now controls their own destiny, God help us all. If Green Bay suffers another January home loss, Seattle would have to win to get it. If both the Packers and Seahawks lose, Detroit would slingshot back to the top. It's a lot to digest, and hard to comprehend considering situations. But we must remember,
Don't get eliminated!
Oh, what could have been if a few rolls of the dice went a different way. We were so close to hilarity and greatness with the Chaos Division. But what do we get in the end? Further proof that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers should be planning their off-season vacations to Cabo. Also, if the Falcons had anything resembling good fortune, they'd be something like a 12-win team. I know I'm gonna hear that this game was meaningless for the Bucs, that they pulled their starters early, that Desmond Ridder was able to dissect their backup defenders all game long, but it just shows you how shitty Tampa Bay is. They have no business being in the playoffs, yet are conveniently in the worst division in football. They won it by default, and with a losing record of all things. Tom Brady is inevitable. He will sentence us to a horrible death by stretching and TB12 supplements. Yeah, I'm salty, but this team stumbled ass backwards into this spot. All you can do is prove me wrong.
and there you have one of the sloppiest NFL seasons we've seen in a long time. Depending on how you view things, it's either thanks to a revival of defense or incredibly terrible offense. I'm on the side of the latter, but when you see a collapse of anything resembling discipline and technique, it tends to be like that. But as the playoffs await, it's time to get sappy and sentimental. I consider Sportsball as a project of sorts, and it feels weird when it's over. I want to thank you for joining me for another year of this madness, and I wish you all nothing but the best. It's been 6 seasons since I started this series, and I somehow haven't lost my damn mind yet. Perhaps these playoffs will do the trick. I'll see you all for the Haters Guide. If you want concrete proof that this year of football was full of shit, look no further than the Bucs. It's not even that I have a vendetta or that they're frauds. This team sucks. Straight up horrible. Nothing makes me hornier than watching inept coaching and shitty play calling. Nothing revs my engine like inconsistent quarterbacking with a non-existent running game featuring suspect wide receivers and an offensive line that can't block for shit. I love nothing more than seeing the same goddamn penalties ending the same goddamn drives over and over again. I love seeing a defense be forced to carry a franchise like Atlas carries the Earth. It's a punishment I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. In a real timeline, this team would be 6-11 and we watch someone else. But we can't have that. Great, you made it here because the Saints collapsed and Grady Jarrett touched Tom Brady. Whoop-de-doo. Now we have to hear the media wax poetic because Brady was able to drag this team to victory against shitty franchises that all but stopped trying. So much dick riding that he may as well own real estate on them. The bullshit just doesn't end. Which means they're somehow beating Dallas in the wildcard round. I couldn't shake the thought of Tampa Bay somehow bullshitting to a win against Dallas. Too many elements at play. But that's why we call the playoffs a clean slate. It shows us how terrible the Bucs were this season. Dallas brought their A game and put this pathetic team to bed. It was a mercy kill if you were to ask me. Tampa somehow took their awful play, horrifyingly bad offense, and clueless coaching and made it even worse. Tom Brady did his best imitation of 2015 Peyton Manning behind a running game that predictably didn't do shit. The Cowboys terrorized their opponents so badly that it could be deemed a glorified bye week. Byron Leftwich may regret not taking the Jags job, but Todd Bowles will continue to have Dick LeBeau syndrome. Excellent coordinator, terrible head coach. Welcome back to Hell, Bucs. It's gonna be a long free fall as Brady becomes a Raider. Oh, so Tom Brady's retiring again? Oh, great. I'm not being fooled by this one again. I'm not mentioning a comment on this until he's dead and buried in the ground. I learned my lesson from last year. I still want him to be a Raider, though. It'd be hilarious.